This is the 14:30 hours GMT edition, being broadcast 2 minutes later than that time at 14:32 hours GMT of the Khoodeelaar television channel, broadcast under the banner of the BabyAngelGeronimo editions on Thursday, the 4th of May 2023. This is a day that marks the deputation or the delegation that I led to number 10 Downing Street on the 4th of May 1991. That was to demand that the UK government, then being fronted by John Major, who was the Prime Minister, raised the level of support for the people of Bangladesh, because southern coast of Bangladesh had been hit on the 30th of April 1991 by another deadly cyclone that killed thousands of people. I still don't know exactly how many people lost their lives and how many animals lost their lives as well. And on that same date, 4th of May 1991, the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, broadcast on BBC One, the main evening news bulletin, featuring me and my companions that were with me on that date, handing in the letter, setting out the brief demand or brief statement of the demand for the John Major government. The result was that previous statements made by the British government between the 30th of April and the 4th of May had stated the pledge by the British government to provide Bangladesh government with £50,000. Now, as a result of this particular event, that 50,000 became transformed to 50 million. That was the power of the international notice that was created by my handing the letter of demand for the UK government, fronted by the Conservative John Major. Now, I never saw any money because the money went straight to the Bangladesh government. How did I know that the money had gone to the Bangladesh government? Because a follow-up meeting I organized with the UK's Foreign and Commonwealth officer at the time disclosed the fact that the UK government had given the money to the Bangladesh government, which was at that time, being fronted by the Bangladesh Nationalist Party chairwoman Khaleda Zia. I still don't know how much of that money was actually used to help the people and help any animals that were within reach of being helped. And to this day, this is now 32 years later, I still don't know how much of the other initiatives that I took for helping the people of Bangladesh with water related facilities have been implemented. I shall come to that in an essay later, not this particular edition, but this is just to mark that. Now, 4th of May, 1991 was therefore a very significant day for the history of the Bangladeshi community across the world. It is not very often, in fact, it is unheard of, really, for the British Broadcasting Corporation, the most widely watched broadcasting organization in the whole world, to lead with a group of people in making a demand for the UK government to help the people of Bangladesh. And that was me. And such is the reality of which I create that particular delegation, was that I didn't have a typing facility. So while waiting into the actual estate, I borrowed somebody's pen and got hold of a piece of paper and wrote on one side, I think, by hand, the demand for the UK government to help the people of Bangladesh. This is historic because nothing like that has been repeated in the 32 years, either in the United Kingdom broadcasting, or in any other Western countries' broadcasting outlets, nor in the USA or Canada. So this is the day that is worth marking as exemplifying the kind of things that I do and I have been doing to help the community, ordinary people, irrespective of party politics or whatever. Significantly, I never heard any rumor, any slightest sound, either from the Bangladesh Nationalist Party's direct HQ or the Bangladesh government, or Khaleda Zia, or from their agents operating in the United Kingdom. One single word about what I did. Now, where do you begin to summarize that kind of ingratitude and stupidity? That was 1991. A decade, I think 14 years before that, I spent the whole week of the Commonwealth Heads of Government that took place in London. And over the whole week, the business week, business sessions of the Heads of Government, the business session that included appearance before the press, the world press, I was there as an accredited reporter, correspondent, and I managed to ask the President of Bangladesh, attending the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, I think about 100 questions covering all aspects of Bangladesh life in terms of the context of the government. And as I said in a recent previous broadcast, unlike any other Bangladesh or Indian or Pakistani kind of politician, Ziaur Rahman absolutely did not refuse to answer my questions. Think about that, 100 questions plus over a whole week. And I asked him questions that people who are familiar with my interrogations would know were quite tough, factual, not partisan, but tough in terms of factuality and the accountability, transparency. And to his credit, on that particular set on the platform, Ziaur Rahman did not flinch. He did sweat because it was the weather in July, the July or August, July 1977. So the weather made him sweat. And he was always dressed in his military uniform, military man. But he never refused to answer one single question that I asked him. And as I say, I'll update contextually that questioning by me of Ziaur Rahman in the relevant essay that I shall be broadcasting in due course. Now, as a result of the delegation that I took to number 10 Downing Street, which was 12 years, 13 years after Ziaur Rahman's tragic murder, assassination, I think he would have been, if he were alive and he would have been in power, Ziaur Rahman would have actually sent me, I can reliably say, a most genuinely kind of genuine letter of thank you, which his wife doesn't have the sense to other members of his party. Why am I saying that? Because when I met him, along with other kind of people, together with the then Bangladesh High Commissioner in London, Minu Duha, Ziaur Rahman was proudly clutching, a copy of the magazine that I had written and produced to mark his visit to Brick Lane. And Ziaur Rahman earnestly invited me to go to Bangladesh and see what he was doing, which, as I said before, I interpret that as an invitation to go there. And he would have recruited me for something that he could recruit me to. But as it is my principle, has been so for decades, I do not respond to invitations from governments or regimes, no matter who they are, what they are. So I thanked Ziaur Rahman, but I did not visit Bangladesh, which I could have done, as he invited me. I shall discuss the contents of that particular souvenir that I had conceived and written and published to mark Ziaur Rahman's visit to Brick Lane in due course, in an essay kind of length edition. Today is also the date when in 1978, 4th of May 1978, Bangladeshi factory worker, after finishing work in Brick Lane, was walking in the Whitechapel Road towards his home somewhere in the to the south of the commercial road, when he was set upon by a white and an African origin accomplice, and the both of them stabbed him to death. Now we are marking the, we notice the sad passing 2 years ago of Anwar Ditta. She was 68, I think, according to the published biography. I met her twice in the 1980s. Shortly after she started the campaign to get the UK Interior Ministry, which is in charge of controlling, quote, migration, to let her three children she gave birth to while in Pakistan join her and her husband, Shujauddin, with whom she was living in Rochdale with her daughter who was born in the United Kingdom. Now, I only came across Anwar Ditta 2 days ago while I was thinking as a hunch about her. I don't know exactly what I would have done if I knew that she was still around. But one of the things I would have done would have been to find a way of contacting her and going over the campaign with her so that the lessons could be updated and shared. But I can say on the record that for all this time that I have been making references to people, the only other person that I have made similar reference to is, of course, Fatima Hiran, the German woman who became a Muslim and who was a contributor to the magazine, the weekly called Young Pakistan in the 1960s, to which I was a contributor as well. So I joined the Young Pakistan as a correspondent based in Silot in the early 1960s. And I became a regular writer for the Young Pakistan. I never asked for any fees. I was not offered any. And if I were offered any, I would not have accepted it. And if the editor of the Young Pakistan in the 1960s didn't publish the pieces that I wrote, I would probably not have continued. Again, as we bang edition after edition, I'll be talking about Fatima Hiran and the Young Pakistan and the editor, whose name was Aziz Ahmad Bilyamini. And he came from what used to be called Central Province of Madhya Pradesh now in India. According to my witness, Aziz Ahmad Bilyamini was a Muslim, of course, but he was a very, very, very poisonous, stupid, prejudiced Muslim, let's say. He was not from West Pakistan, he was from what was called the Central Province of Madhya Pradesh. And if those who made the decisions during the 1960s government, let's say, were of the same attitude and mentality and outlook as I found this very, very poisonous deeply offensive individual whom I decided to observe as an item of evidence, exhibit. I don't think he realized just how outraged I was every time I came face to face with him. And I say that if there is any ground for the slogan of the 1940s, the slogan was the Larke Lenge Pakistan. That was the Urdu language slogan that everyone, including Silotis and Bengalis, proudly and spontaneously shouted, including the late Mr. Tasadduq Ahmad. Tasadduq Ahmad was from the same region in Bangladesh as I am. He was from a village that is probably about 3 miles at most on foot across the fields from where I come from. He was from Badeshwar, and I am from Sundarpur in the east of the river Kuyara in Silot. So Mr. Tasadduq Ahmad was one of the leaders of the students' movement for Pakistan. And within such a short time, after August 1947, people of East Pakistan, in many parts, many regions, began to make comments that the West Pakistanis were discriminating against the East Pakistanis. This has nothing to do with the so-called language movement, but it was generally in the plain personal empirical experience. The ordinary people from East Pakistan were forced to share this experience of contacts with people from West Pakistan. And if Aziz Ahmad Bilyamini in any way represented the attitude of the people of West Pakistan towards the people of East Pakistan, then they were leaving the people of East Pakistan hardly any option but to demand separation from the idea of Pakistan. Now, I'm talking about the 1960s, remember? And Bilyamini was the foulest, most ungrateful criminal cunt. He didn't deserve me visiting him with a script or no script. The fucking shit never said thank you to me for personally bringing the items for publication. Now, this is the expression of the feelings. And I wasn't expressing it to him or to anybody else, but that is how I felt. So if I felt that way, then I'm absolutely certain that these fuckers were forcing the people of East Pakistan for a breakup of Pakistan based on the West Pakistani criminals' ingratitude and hatred and disrespect. Well, he was from Madhya Pradesh, but we could count him as from West Pakistan. When I wrote for another publication, that one being in Bangla language. It turned out that its main editorial kind of brains or policy strategist was a Urdu speaking man from West Pakistan, from Karachi. And there was only one off encounter with me. Somebody suggested that if I had any complaints against the news organization that I was writing in, I should go to him, this individual. And I did go there. As I said, when I was in Dhaka, it was my policy to speak in English, not in Bengali. And this one was an Urdu speaker. I didn't speak in Urdu either. So I continued the practice of speaking in English. And there was a short conversation with him about the policy of the paper that I was writing in. And he, being an Urdu speaker, I knew for a fact would not know the difference between two Bangla words. And this fucker was supposed to be the main strategist for the newspaper that I was writing in. Now, I count my work. This is a work that is based on decades. I count my work as being among the most advanced linguistically, factually, morally, ethically, etc., etc. How dare a cunt like that from Karachi give me any lesson about or any lecture about anything to do with my writing? So I told the fucker, I told him, in English I said, words to the effect that rats like you would run for your lives when the anti-Pakistani elements come for you, and we would be left to defend the idea. You are too cowardly and stupid. And I barged out of his fucking stupid office. So these are two morons that I've just mentioned. One is the Aziz Ahmad Bilyamini, and one is this idiot whose name I haven't got in front of me because this happened more than 53 years ago. But I did tell him accurately, and things that followed happened according to my predictions. I said similar things hundreds of times to many of the people of the parties, the Muslim League, the Council of Muslim League, and the Jamaat-e-Islami. I said to them that they were wrong. I said that they were wrong not because I belonged to any party, and I most certainly didn't belong to the Awami League party, but I did tell them that they were wrong to attack Sheikh Mujib. I was not a fan of Sheikh Mujib. I still am not a fan of Sheikh Mujib because I saw him from close quarters for 3 years. But there is a difference between not being a fan of somebody like Sheikh Mujib and allowing unfair criticism of that individual by their political enemies. I said to the Jamaat-e-Islami lot, I said, you have no right to demonize Sheikh Mujib while you over promote Abul Ala Maududi. I don't think the Jamaat Islami liked what I said, but that is what I said. Nobody else would say that to them. I'm the only one who did say that to them, or would say that to them. And I remain without any affiliation to any party in Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, whatever. The only party I ever joined in my whole life, political party, was the UK Labour Party, which Keir Starmer has murdered already. But essentially, I remain politically, morally, objectively independent, ethically independent. I'm a fact based, evidence based, morality based individual whose allegiance, if there is to be an expression, doesn't exist to any human being, but who derives, as I derive, particular instances of guidance from the likes of the old Greek philosophers and the Persian Maulana Rumi. I don't consider Muhammad Iqbal as my inspiration because I don't know enough about his actual involvement. But I do rate Muhammad Ali Jinnah as the unique personality in all of the subcontinent whose intellectual rigor and status placed him way above any of the other contemporaries, either British or Brahmin. And because of her recognition of Muhammad Ali Jinnah and his character, I have tremendous respect and a lot of time for Sarojini Naidu. So, from Sarojini Naidu to Anwar Ditta is a bit of a distance, but it is not as distant as it may sound. I would say that Anwar Ditta, if I had got in touch with her before she passed away, unfortunately, I would have probably asked her to agree to me publishing a substantial volume about her work. And I think Anwar Ditta should be recognized in the way that she has not been recognized. Of course, she has been mentioned and she has been praised, but nothing that I have seen about her comes anywhere near recognizing her actual contributions. I shall come back to both Sarojini Naidu and Anwar Ditta in due course. Now, going to another woman now. But I'm not going to her, I'm going to review her latest activities. And I have slightly edited her second name and made her read like Cars, Curse, all, All. So Cars all. Her second name is Carswell, Kerswell, Carswell. And her first name is Catherine. And she has been for the last 2 years effectively in the post of chief executive in the London Borough of Croydon. Now, Carswell has got outstanding questions to answer, and she has got overdue apologies to make to me because she lied and she falsified and she misbehaved. Sometime in June 2018, when she was in post as the temporary chief executive hired by Roxana Fias. Now, Carswell is chronicled in the Private Lie, which is the latest issue, is dated tomorrow, but its advanced copy is available in the shops, and I got one yesterday. And Carswell is Cars All is covered in this column, the last column, the main column, on the third column of the Rotten Boroughs page. And it is full of condemnation of Cars All's misconduct. It says, in February 2021, we're talking about the London Borough of Croydon. Revolving doors. Now, this is a cheap, not a biting heading, but that is what the actual copy reads. In February 2021, Finance Director Lisa Taylor was one of 4 senior executives at the London Borough of Croydon who were suspended from their jobs by the new chief executive, Catherine Carswell, in the wake of the council's financial collapse. Taylor resigned soon after and never faced disciplinary procedures at the cash-strapped South London Authority. The Carswell is mentioned in the same piece. How many times is she mentioned? 1, 2, 3, I think 4 times. That is too many times, and this is the longest item, singular item in the current edition of the Private Lie about anyone. And it connects her with complicity with crooks and possible conspiracy, insider dealing, let's say, on her part in placing Lisa Taylor in a job. It says, despite the financial chaos Tyler left behind, that is in Croydon, she, Lisa Tyler, must have received some glowing reference. That is a reference to Catherine Carswell, writing a glowing reference because of what is written in the next sentence. In October 2022, she was among the final senior appointments at the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea under veteran chief executive Barry Cork, who retired in November 2022. Cork happens to be married to Catherine Carswell. So, what the Private Lie piece is suggesting is that Lisa Tyler, who got a job in Kensington and Chelsea, must have got glowing references. And the reference to glowing reference is significant because she was sacked because of misconduct and her role in the disintegration of the finance of the borough. Now, Tyler and her Croydon colleagues' suspensions had been in response to the findings of the Penn report into possible wrongdoing. Penn's recommendations included reporting senior officials, including Tyler, to their professional bodies. Remember that she was named as one of the badly behaving holders of top director posts in the corrupt Croydon Council. Now, the private lie is saying Carswell failed to act on that recommendation until more than 2 years had passed. Now, by that time, it would have been too late because Lisa Tyler had already been given a job in the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. And this piece is continuing to say the reality is that Carswell has used all the excuses. In other words, she has lied in the book to do nothing. While some of those deeply implicated in the council's collapse have strolled through town halls, revolving doors to take well paid positions in other councils. Guy Van Dieschel, like Tyler, suspended by Croydon in February 2021, and who resigned soon after, is now working in the neighboring Sutton Council as Sutton's strategic director of people, where his predecessor received a salary and pension package of £170,788. Also now at Sutton is Richard Simpson, who was Tyler's boss at Croydon, who quit in early 2019. Simpson was interviewed by Penn of the Penn Report because during his 14 years at Croydon Council, including 6 years in charge of finance, Simpson set up brick by brick one of the most corrupt vehicles for theft of hundreds of millions of pounds by Croydon councillors and directors. The housing company that lost at least 100 million, he arranged for the refurbishment of the Fairfield Halls Art Centre in Croydon to be handed to brick by brick without any legally required competitive tender, with similarly disastrous results. Simpson is now Sutton's strategic director of resources, a Section 151 officer, paid a salary and pension package worth £173,553. And then there is this phrase that Private Eye uses, which is totally facile and toothless, troubles all round. Now, going back to Anwar Ditta and the use of the term monster, because when the Home Office in the 1970s was repeatedly rejecting Anwar Ditta's request to be allowed to bring her 3 children from Pakistan. She felt such anguish. The word anguish is used by Anwar Ditta in the World in Action program broadcast by Granada Television in a speech, because the Granada Television program says that every week Anwar Ditta was addressing 4 or 5 of these kind of meetings, telling perfect strangers about her life and her struggles to get her children to live with her in Rochdale. Now, she felt anguish. And I have to say this, one of the words that Helen Macdonald, the woman in South Gloucestershire in England, who is Baby Angel Geronimo's second human mom. Baby Angel Geronimo's first human mom is a woman in New Zealand who brought him up, Leonie Taylor. Was it Leonie Taylor? Second name? First name is Leonie. I'll check on her second name. Leonie Walker. So one of the comments that Helen Macdonald made to one of the British journalists about the way that the DEFRA department was torturing her was that she felt like she was being tortured on purpose. This is not a legal kind of statement. It is a human, emotional statement. Exactly the kind of statement that Anwar Ditta made when she was targeted by the Home Office, who was dishonestly, prejudicially, cruelly repeating the lie that her children were not her children. Helen Macdonald in South Gloucestershire stood there before the various media for a long time, holding the baby angel Geronimo next to her. Now, the picture of Helen Macdonald standing by the baby angel Geronimo is the picture of somebody who is being put through hell by absolute evil ones who have no right to do that to her, who have no basis to do that to her, but who were bent on keeping that attack series on her every day. So the feeling that Anwar Ditta was going through, sheer anguish as tears rolled down her cheeks as she spoke. It must be the same feeling of being tortured, being brutalized, being cruelly treated for no offense, no reason. And any person who is put through that by the likes of DEFRA or by the likes of the Home Office is only correctly, factually describable as personification of evil. In the Surah Al-Isra in the Holy Quran, the evil of shaitan is expressed in the way that the evil ones engaged in the harassment of Helen Macdonald and the evilness that were engaged in repeatedly sick-makingly obstructing Anwar Ditta were doing. Or they were the ones that God inferred, implied, made predictions. Anwar Ditta, I don't think there has been one other British born person that has been put through that kind of torture as Anwar Ditta. And it is for this reason that I think she should be properly recognized. And on the like comparison, a woman whose offense is not an offense at all, but a woman who is doing God's work, in fact, in being kindly protective of one of the most innocent beings on the face of the earth, baby angel Geronimo. For her kindness and her compassion and her concern for the welfare, safety of this baby angel Geronimo, she is being demonized repeatedly. She is being tortured repeatedly. She is being disbelieved repeatedly for no reason. So baby angel Geronimo is the witness who solidarizes with Anwar Ditta. And the witness that is solidarizing today is, of course, with the victim of the racist murder committed in Whitechapel in London, E1, on Thursday, the 4th of May, 1978. Altabali. Altabali is an innocent victim of hateful people determined to deny him with their very life. For years, baby angel Geronimo has been targeted by hateful people who are jealous of him, who are scared of the good health, the bestest possible health that baby angel Geronimo enjoys, scared the evil ones because it interrupts their narrative of telling lies against innocent animals, innocent beings, and innocent human beings who care for them and love them. So baby angel Geronimo is the witness today, paying fullest possible respect, recognition to Anwar Ditta, to Helen MacDonald, and to all the other people who have been expressing their compassion, their solidarity, and support to Geronimo, the baby angel Geronimo, against the evilness called Christian evilness at DEFRA and whoever else was in post at the time that they were perpetrating their propaganda against the baby angel Geronimo. One of the worst offenders against justice has been, of course, Boris Johnson, the congenital liar. And as baby angel Geronimo has been witnessing on a daily basis, the congenital liar, evilness personified, Boris Johnson will never be forgiven. never be forgiven by God, and never be forgiven by the realms of God and justice. As his daily role or his evil doing role being uncovered on a daily basis, no matter what excuse he comes up with, no matter what pretext he comes up with. The evilness Boris Johnson, who fancied himself as the future king of the world, has been thoroughly condemned by even right-wing, racist, anti-Muslim observers like Matthew Parrish in the Times, who has condemned Boris Johnson as the dogmas on Britain's pavement. That's the expression. The baby angel Geronimo knew and knows that Boris Johnson was due to be reduced to that reality because of his lying. And baby angel Geronimo knows confidently that what in the Surah Al Isra says, the two witnesses on two shoulders of human beings who are writing the bad and the good evidence every day, every minute, every incident, have been doing this about all the evildoers, and the evildoers are being exposed in this world as well before they get properly judged based on that evidence in the next world. Baby angel Geronimo is a blessing from God because he is innocent and he is absolutely truthful and is a vehicle for compassion, solidarity, and truthfulness and justice against the injustice, against the cruelty and the criminality. The criminality that the Home Office, say in the 1970s, when they were cooking up the series of lies against Anwar Ditta, against her husband Shujauddin, against her innocent children, these criminals were motivated by hatred based on Islam. They were attacking Anwar Ditta as a Muslim woman, although 100% British by birth in Britain. And they were looking for any kind of excuse and they couldn't find any excuse. So they kept repeatedly, they kept saying no to all the evidence. Just the three separately sitting High Court judges said no to all the evidence of the innocence and the perfect state of being in perfect health of baby angel Geronimo. Those liars sitting as High Court judges were acting as evil stooges for the evil doing regime fronted by the evilness Boris Johnson and handled by the evilness Christian Middlemas evilness and the evilness called George Injustice Eustace. The comment on the front page of the Times the other day, earlier this week, attributed to Anthony Seldon, that the crisis in the civil service in England, in the UK, let's say, was so bad that the top civil servant Simon Case must go. Now, the evidence that Baby Angel Geronimo has, the evidence that Anwar Ditta has, the evidence of the murders of Altawali and Ishaq Ali in 1978 and the murders of other innocent people amount to is that the crisis is not limited to the UK civil service. The crisis dominates the whole of the UK government, parliament, media, judiciary. And the crisis is one of evilness dominating the UK. We shall be continuing on all of those in due course in later editions, whenever they are broadcast. This is coming to an end at 1 hour, 1 minute at 15 GMT on Thursday, the 4th of May 2023.